Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm gonna be testing another gaming monitor from KTC. This is the 27M1. And surprisingly, it has very similar specs to the H27T6 that I tested just a few days ago. So let's go over them, shall we? So this is also a 27-inch 1440p 200Hz monitor that's overclockable to 210Hz. It's an IPS display, but it has a price tag of $290, guys. Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? See, even my cat wouldn't recommend this thing at $290, but on sale right now, it's at $165. And at that price, that's actually a pretty sweet deal. Now, one of the main features of the 27M1 is these little flaps on the side. I guess there aren't many monitors featuring this, so if you've been looking for it on a 27-inch 1440p panel, this is nice to have, but honestly, it doesn't really make that big of a difference to me. I think it's quite gimmicky, but hey, it's here, and it's an extra feature compared to the normal stuff that we see. Speaking of normal stuff, let's go over the PPI. At 1440p resolution, 27 inches, we have a 108 PPI, so it's quite sharp of a monitor, but it's not as sharp, of course, as a 4K display with the same size, or even a 4K 32-inch monitor. It's very similar to a 4K 42-inch monitor in terms of PPI, which I have used for a long time in the past in the LG C2 OLED. A lot of people also recommend 1440p at 27 inches, and it's my preferred size for this resolution. I also really like 24 inches at 1440p with a 120-ish PPI, but this is a lot more common, and honestly, I like the bigger size. Come here, you can come back. Everything is fine. We're not talking about the price anymore of $290. Let's talk about colors now, and I used this Calibrite tool to measure the color gamut of the display, and I recorded 100% sRGB, 88.4% Adobe RGB, and 91.6% TCP/3. So if you had any doubts that this is the same panel as the H27T6, well, now you don't. It is the same panel that's used in that other KTC monitor. However, this one didn't come calibrated out of the box like the previous one did. Maybe I got lucky with the previous one, but this was just a little bit bluish on the tint. So if you calibrate it, you can actually do a bit of color work in it. And also remember to use the sRGB mode instead of the natural mode that it comes with, because the natural is way too saturated, which looks good in games, but not really when you're editing stuff or watching videos on YouTube even. Moving on to the brightness, and once again, this is one of the brightest IPS panels that I have tested, with a peak brightness of 520 nits. So that makes this monitor suited for bright rooms, and also this helps it a little bit. If you have some light coming from the side, it blocks some of that light. I would like to have seen a shading thingy over here on the top as well. It's nice to have this. It doesn't really make that big of a difference, but I guess if you care about brightness and making it just a little bit better, this helps. So in terms of peak brightness, we got some really good results, but just like the H27T6, in terms of minimum brightness, it does not impress. If you are looking for a dim display, skip this one or the other one from KTC that I mentioned a lot of times already. But I recorded 85 nits minimum brightness with the 27M1, which is not impressive in this regard whatsoever. Contrast is next, and for an IPS display, this actually performs really well with a 1500:1 contrast ratio, which is very impressive. I did not expect this on a budget monitor. I guess I would kind of expect it on a $290 monitor, which is its advertised price without the promotion, but yeah, if you find it at $165, it is very impressive when it comes to contrast ratio. Moving on to Backlight Bleed, and here we see really good results for an IPS panel. This will be different from model to model though, so yours can be a little bit different, but there were no problems in this regard with my unit, and no dead pixels like my other KTC monitor that I reviewed recently. And now let's take a look at the all-important response times. To gather these results, I used the NVIDIA LDAT sensor and tested 1440p at 210Hz, 120Hz, and 75Hz. It wasn't working with 60Hz either. These two monitors seem to have some issue with the sensor. I don't know. I also used the 5 different overdrive settings available in this monitor for this. And here's the table with all of the results. So as you can see, this isn't the best monitor when it comes to response times. Unfortunately, I still didn't see anything wrong while gaming with it, aside from that ultra fast overdrive setting, which is absolutely awful with all of that overshoot. It's really noticeable. I don't know who thought it was a good idea to put this ultra fast overdrive setting in it. I don't think it will fit anybody's needs. But good news is, if you use the advanced one or dynamic overdrive, it does perform pretty decently for a $165 monitor, not for a $290 monitor. I have tested other high refresh rate 1440p displays at around $250, and those performed a lot better than this one. However, again, it all comes down to price, so if you find it on sale, which it is right now, it's good. Now let's take a look at the on-screen display. It is controlled by a joystick positioned on the back of the monitor. It is very easy to navigate and change settings with, and it also has every setting that you usually find in a monitor OSD, including the overdrive settings, positioning, sharpness, opacity, RGB controls, cheat crosshairs, and so on. And as always, do not forget to enable that adaptive sync. It supports FreeSync and G-Sync as well. Also, this monitor has a dedicated power button below the joystick. Usually with other KTC monitors that I've tested, you only have the little joystick and that's it. You gotta hold it to turn off the monitor. In this one, you just click that button. It's so much easier. One thing that happened really frequently with other monitors that only have one single joystick was I wanted to turn off the monitor and I would press it to the side, and then I needed to get out of the menu to press it again and turn it off. This one fixes all of those things with just a single press of a button. And I like it. Let's go over the ports now. And here we have the DC power jack, a USB 2.0 port, 2 HDMI 2.0s that are only capable of 144 Hz, unfortunately, 2 DisplayPort 1.4 ports that are capable of the full 210 Hz, and a headphone jack. By the way, the headphone jack isn't the only audio output of this monitor. It also has dedicated speakers. They're 2-watt speakers and they don't sound very good. They're just monitor speakers. They lack bass, and they sound pretty teeny, but sometimes they come in clutch, you know, like I sometimes find myself watching the odd video here and there that doesn't require very good audio quality, and I use the monitor speakers for that. It's just a convenience thing, really. Now let's talk about that design and build quality. When it comes to that, this is very different from other monitors that I've tested so far. It has all of the height, tilt, swivel, and pivot adjustments that you usually find in other monitors, but you actually have some measurement marks inscribed in the arm of the monitor. So you can adjust it to your preference, and if you need to grab it for a LAN party, for example, you can just memorize whatever adjustments you did previously and set it to exactly the same as it was before. So I really like this. This is something that I actually nitpicked about in some other monitor reviews, because sometimes I grab my monitor to put it on other desk or whatever, rearrange my room a little bit, and then I forget about how it was exactly positioned and I can never get back to where it was. I know, again, not everyone will care about this, but it's a nice to have thing. This monitor is also very sturdy when it comes to wobbling. It doesn't wobble too much, even on a desk like this from IKEA that's very cheap. It does the job really well. The build quality is a highlight in this one. Oh, of course, and there is a retractable headphone stand on the back of the display. That is just attention to detail, guys. I really like to see these little details here and there, and I guess they won't be useful for everyone out there, but I know somebody will find them useful, and I like to see it. And finally, it's conclusion time. And overall, this is a good monitor for the price if you find it on sale, of course. If it is at its normal price of, they say, $290, it is not worth it because the panel itself should have been better. If it was like a 300 Hz with lower input latency or response times, actually, it would be better. But with a 200 Hz monitor and with those response times not being too great and with it not coming calibrated out of the box, it leaves something to be desired at that price point. But again, at $165, I think it is a pretty good deal. I also find the hood a bit gimmicky and it lacks the top layer of it, but it could have a target audience somewhere that will find it super useful. And once again, that design and build quality are top notch, and if you can grab this one for the same price as, say, the H27T6 that I reviewed recently, I would pick this one just because it is just better built, in my opinion. It might not look as pretty because it's not white and so on, and it also lacks RGB on the back like the other one, but it's more sturdy and I like these adjustments. Again, like it fits my needs a little bit better than the other one. And that's been it for this one. Thanks to KTC for sending this monitor for review. I hope to see an OLED maybe next time. And I'll catch you guys in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.